Welcome back on board the Starship. I'm talking with author Tom Arnott, and we were talking about the Count of Saint-Germain, who's this very enigmatic character of history who seemed to be on all sides of different conflicts and was involved in creating them. What else can we say about this chap, Tom?
Well, there's quite a lot of information that's readily available about him. For instance, the time, I think it was Peter the Great, gave him a flawed diamond to look at, and he held it in his hands for a few minutes and gave him a perfect, flawless diamond back. Mm-hmm. He was reputed to have taken a silver coin from Giacomo Casanova and held it in his hand and gave him it back as pure gold. This is the alchemist part comes in. He reputedly had healing powers, and he was a gifted musician and painter. He could actually write compose a poem with his left hand while writing a sonnet with his right, simultaneously. They reckon he could answer...
I bet he could do the Rubik's Cube.
Probably. I don't know if he could do mine, though. And he was supposed to have the ability to answer questions before you'd actually asked them.
Right. So what does this tell us? All of this ancient knowledge that you've studied, you said that mankind, we have got some of the pieces the wrong way around. Mm-hmm. We've completely interpreted it wrong. Mm-hmm. So if you could summarize in one paragraph, what is the actual truth with regards to mankind? Let's give us it in a...
It's funny you should use the word truth, because I've come up with a kind of motto for myself in this whole project, and it's basically there's one world, there are one people, and there can only be one truth. We might have many religions and many political beliefs, but they can't all be right. There's got to be one truth. Now we have to find out what that is, what that one truth is. And I believe it to be that we were manipulated genetically by a greater power external to Earth, and we are therefore not indigenous to this planet. We are hybrids of them. We all have powers, innate abilities that some of us aren't even aware of. We're all capable of greater things than we believe we're capable of, but we're all being manipulated and brainwashed to a certain extent to know our place, to keep our backs down, keep the mill grinding, and keep the pennies pouring in for certain people.
Now, we come on to the Christian religion, which talks of heaven and hell. If you aren't a good person, you will go to hell, and you will have this horrible time. If you're good, you'll go to heaven. Now, for me, that's a pure control mechanism. It's trying to get someone to you're trying to take control of them.
Of course.
Now, if you read into all of these ancient religions, a lot of them, what they're actually suggesting in their roots is that your physical body is not you. Mm-hmm. That there is something non-physical which lives on and possibly gets another body after you die. Reincarnation, everyone's heard of that. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that that's true?
Well, Einstein proved that energy is a constant. You cannot add to it and you can't take it away, and it's been there from time began and it'll be there forever. And if all our body is, to my mind, it's a vehicle for our energy, soul, kai, chai, call it whatever you want, but this purer form.
Yes.
And I believe that energy, as Einstein proved, continues to exist after we die, after this shell dies. Now, whether it goes into another body and is reborn, whether it goes somewhere else,
yes,
I wouldn't like to say.
Now, I believe that the religions are constructed the way that I've just described, so that people are more controlled, and that possibly there is more to just this physical life on this earth. Mm-hmm. And I saw an interesting documentary the other day where it was a BBC Panorama documentary where they were attacking Scientology. Now, I'm not a Scientologist. I wouldn't join any religion. I think most religions are hogwash. Mm-hmm. But that religion teaches that there is, you do incarnate into another being after you die. Mm-hmm. And I think it also teaches that the souls originate from another place. They don't originate from Earth. Mm-hmm. Now, those two things you can never prove. No. Or not absolutely. You couldn't prove it. But for me, they seem more plausible than what our current religions teach us. Now, I'm not saying go and join the Church of Scientology, but what I'm saying is that the powers that be made that panorama hit piece because they see that those fundamental principles in Scientology are threatening to the people who want to control society. Because if I could stand here and say, I definitely know and I can prove to you that when your physical body dies, you don't go to heaven or hell, you get another body. If I could prove that to society, can you imagine how much society people would change?
Of course, but see, you're right. I mean, they're picking on Scientology at the moment, but haven't the Buddhists been believers in reincarnation for years? They didn't highlight them.
Yes.
But you're very right. I mean, if all of us knew for an absolute fact that we would go into another life when this one ended, half of us had a bad day or got divorced or had a headache, would think, oh, to hell with this, cut your wrists and have another go, fresh start tomorrow.
Yeah.
You couldn't have that.
Let's have another try.
So if that was true, that kind of knowledge would have to be withheld from man. And it's like I mentioned earlier, if you were aware of your true potential and who you really are, and that was just part of the picture that you had, you couldn't live on this earth under these circumstances. You couldn't. You'd go mad.
Wasn't this supposed to have been the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, where the two things were man wasn't to know about his true spiritual origin and what happens to his spirit when he dies? That was because man was meant to be a slave. You can't teach him that, otherwise he's going to be less controllable. And the other thing was that not to teach man about morality and justice because he was to be a slave. He was to just follow orders, so he didn't need to know about politics and justice and laws, etc. So these were the two things I believe that when they designed man, they didn't want him to know about. They were forbidden.
Yeah,
because it's
I agree with that. But then, and as my book kind of points out,
the title of the book, Tom, is Somnium.
Somnium, yeah.
And it's give us a brief resume of it.
Well, just to expand a little on what you said, and this is included within the book. What happened is these greater powers, for want of a better word, they had a falling out. Half of them thought, well, look, let's just leave them alone and get on with it. You know, we've got other things to do. And the other half thought, well, no, we've come this far, they're part us, we've got to keep an eye on them and look after them. So there was a war in heaven. And they parted ways. Neither was right or wrong, but certain religious dogma has taken that literally and said, well, he's the bad guy, he's Lucifer, you know, he's cast down to hell and it's fiery and all that. What a crock. You know, he's not a bad guy, they just had a disagreement. And who's to say who was right and wrong? There's only we can make that decision. Free will. We'll make our own choices. Now, the book itself, it's taken all the research and everything I've learned through this cube, through these dreams, through the readings of religious history and the world, and, you know, the missing link, and, you know, and it questions why a horse is still a horse after 30 million years, yet we've gone from monkey to the moon in 250, you know, come on. And but I've tried to put it into kind of fictionalize some of it into a story format, so it's easier to absorb some of the things I'm trying to say.
So it's a novel, isn't it?
It's a novel. It can be described as a novel.
Modern day.
Yeah. But a lot of it is kind of true. The puzzles in there. There's things about relationships, about your relationship with yourself, the power you have, and the whole story would have made that book about this thick. So I've actually cut it into 3 parts. That's the first part of Somnium.
Right. So this is going to be a 3-part trilogy.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you're a Freemason.
Yes.
You care to tell us about it?
Well, I'll be honest with you. As I was doing the research and inquisitive mind, I met 1 or 2 gentlemen who were Freemasons, and, you know, through chats over a drink, they extolled the virtues of Freemasonry. And I was attracted to that, you know, the camaraderie, the fraternity, and I was intrigued by the secrecy.
Yes.
You know, I went into Freemasonry with a predetermined idea. I think when I went through my first degree, it kind of heightened that expectations. It was basically a Freemason must, you know, along with many other good things, you know, look after other Freemasons, like brotherly love, and as long as it doesn't break the laws of Queen or country, help another Freemason in need. And I really liked all of that. And then I went through the second and the third degree when you become a full Mason. It was kind of spiritual. It was very touching, you know, you kind of, and I'll not be saying anything out of turn here, and I'll come to that point in a minute, where you go through the life of Hiram Abiff and Solomon's Temple and all the rest of it. Then I went on to become a fourth degree Mark Master Mason, and I started to be disillusioned, mainly because this fraternity and brotherly love exists within the lodge and at the festive board, but outside of that, in reality, not really. The secrets that I hoped to learn didn't start to appear, and I guess you've got to be up to the 30 and 33 degree Masonry before you learn anything that we're not aware of. And then I started noticing there's books on the library shelves and films being made that pretty much publicise all the oaths and all the secrets that, and everything, and kind of diluted Masonry for me.
Right.
Now, I think the concept of Freemasonry is, at its heart, is very noble and very good. Whether there's any universal life-changing secrets to be learned later on, I don't know. Another thing, and this is hearsay, I don't know for sure because I was never asked, but I was told by other Masons that there are branches of Freemasonry, like the Rose Quarter or the Knights Templar, some of which you can't apply to join, you have to be asked personally.
Yes.
So these guys must kind of look at you, vet you, and have a good think about you, and then black or white ball you, and invite you personally. And you might learn different things then. And I mean, the Knights Templar is a whole different ball game. Incidentally, when they were sent to Jerusalem to guard Solomon's tomb, the original Knights Templar, there was 9 of them.
Right.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
I mean, the apron wearing thing, that goes all the way back to Egypt.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of traditions in Freemasonry that go way back to like Babylon. And
Yeah. Well, see, as I read about it, it seemed that Hiram Abiff was a great architect, and he built the Temple of Solomon, and then his secrets were passed on through Egypt, and originally I thought it was all about the architecture and the trickery used in building these massive monolithic buildings. But then it hints at where to position the body, how to embalm it to ensure immortality for the pharaohs.
right.
And then it gets into, you know, the stars on Orion's belt, the positioning of buildings and things like that, and that Hiram Abiff and true Freemasons were aware of all of these
Right.
secrets, if you like. And that's what attracted me originally.
But that's possibly secrets that have come from the Nephilim originally.
Maybe.
You know, from way back.
But I think when we get to, and I wouldn't say secret societies, because if Masons say we're a society that has secrets, we're not a secret society. But when it comes to the Bilderberg Group and the Illuminati and the Freemasons and all the stories that you hear about them, I think they can be compared to religion and politics. Some of it's true and a lot of it's not. A lot of it might be propaganda.
We were saying that, you know, you don't actually get visibility of the structure of the organization until you get higher up. That you have no knowledge of the overall what's going on throughout Freemasonry.
Well, that's true from the get-go. I mean, if you're a first-degree Mason, when you're an apprentice, you're allowed into the lodge until such point that you have to leave the lodge for the meeting to carry on. And then when you become a first-degree Mason, the same, and so on and so on.
You see, that in itself for me, you say that you're about truth. Mm-hmm. Really, they're keeping the truth from every tier that's below it. So it's a very untruthful organization. It's keeping the truth from every tier. So for me, that why can't the bottom layers know everything that's going on? You know, why not? Why not have ultimate truth?
I agree with you.
What are they afraid of? Why are they manipulating those lower layers? You know.
I think, and to answer that as best I can,
It's going back to the
Yeah.
control, divide and conquer, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, if you imagine Freemason hierarchy, kind of like school. You wouldn't start teaching a child calculus on his first day at school.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't even broach the subject until he was evolved enough.
That's true, but we're talking
To
about
accept it.
mature adults here. We're not, aren't we?
We're talking about,
can
no, but
understand
you can be a
higher
mature
concept.
adult and you can be a dishonest person at the same time. Just because you're an adult, it doesn't make you susceptible to the truth. It doesn't make you honourable or moralistic.
Is this why the people who get the 33rd degree believe themselves truly to be superior to everyone else on the planet?
Well, maybe. I mean, one of the things that disillusioned me, I always wondered why the Grand Master was always a member of royal family. Why? Because I wouldn't say I was anti-royalist, but I'm not a royalist, you know. Why should he have that great honour just because he has royal blood?
Totally
Has he
agree.
earned it?
Yeah. Are you happy talking about this, Tom, by the way?
Well,
Does it
I'm
not- will you not
conscious
get,
of the fact that there's not much I can say. I only got the 4th degree, and I haven't attended a lodge for some years now.
Right.
As I say, partly through disillusionment with it. And things weren't happening quick enough for my liking. But again, there was a time I would have bit my own tongue off before I gave away Mason secrets.
Right.
But what upset me was then they bring films out and there's books on the shelves and they're all out there for anybody to read.
Right.
And all of a sudden I wasn't special anymore. You know, everybody knew the secrets.
So is there any finishing message that you've got for people who were listening to you, Tom?
Well, just this. I mean, read Somnium. If you can get a copy of Somnium, read it.
Now, people can get this from my website, which is richplanet.net. It's not on Amazon yet. So if they want a copy now, I think that they can get this for £15. I'm going to put it on my website.
And it has sister editions that are coming out soon, the Parables of Malachi and the Book of 9. And if you read all three, I guarantee you, your life will change
All right.
for the better. And you'll see what I can see, and you'll be fascinated.
Thanks very much indeed for coming on the Starship, Tom.
Welcome.
And I'm going to beam you back down to planet Earth, but I'm going to ask you to leave the puzzle here because I'm going to have a try to see if I can solve it.
Good luck with that.
Okay. It just remains for me to say, keep your eyes on the skies, keep your feet on the ground, and tell all your friends about this show.